Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking the best armor effects and conditions in Baldur's Gate 3 on a tier list. So I compiled a bunch of different ones. This was a requested video, so I went through a bunch of the different armors and compiled all the best effects that the armors bring to the character, and I'm going to be ranking them all on this tier list. So the first one we got here is, I just put Armor of Agathis, but this is the Icebite Robes with the resistance to cold damage, which is also on the Wave Mother's Robe here. So this will give you resistance to cold damage. The Wave Mother's Robe does come with the resistance to fire damage as well, so that's another consideration that it may be a little bit better. It might be down further on this list, but resistance to cold damage is not bad, but there's not that much cold damage in comparison to something like fire damage, which is the next item on this list. So cold damage is okay, but the nice thing about the Icebite Road is it does come with a level 3 casting of Armor of Agathis, which will give you 15 temporary health points and 15 cold damage to attackers. I would put it probably somewhere around B tier because the cold damage is very rare in comparison to something like fire or poison damage, but it's still not bad. It could be somewhere around C tier, but it does get a bit of a benefit giving you Armor of Agathis as well. So this is the only cold resistance armor in the game, but there's also the ability if you play as a ranger to resist cold damage. But something a little bit better is fire damage. Now this is actually on Minsk right now, so the unwanted Masterwork Scale Mail gives resistance to fire damage. It's also on the, if you go with the armor of Helldusk armor, this will give you resistance to fire damage, which is nice, and also can't be burned and take 3 less damage. So there's obviously a little bit better, but I'll be talking about that. But the unwanted Masterwork Scale Mail is pretty good because resistance to fire damage is quite common. This also allows you to add your full dexterity modifier to the armor class, which is another benefit. The exotic material, which I'll be covering a little bit further down on this list. The exotic material is really nice because the ability to resist, or the ability to add your full dexterity modifier is incredible because you can add a +6 to your armor class. You can get your armor class up that high with this, and it does have a decent armor class as well. And this one also doesn't impose disadvantage on ability checks, but the resistance to fire damage is quite good. I'd have to say that it's probably somewhere around A tier because fire damage is quite common. Fireball, Scorching Ray, fire cantrips, additional fire damage from dipping weapons. Like, you're going to see fire damage quite frequently in this game, so this armor itself is also quite good. For some of them I put the images of the effects, for some of them I just put the image of the armor. I was just trying to find the best way to compile all of this information in the game. But yeah, this is a pretty good armor overall. Like you can see there, we don't even have a very high dexterity, or I guess we have +5 dexterity, 16 armor class. That's not too bad. And resistance to fire damage obviously is very nice. So that is another thing to be considered on this. So yeah, just had to note that there. But next we got the this is on the ballast armor, the Aura of Murder. So this is a really great armor as well. And I personally think that this is the best armor in the game. It's only light armor. It does have a 14 armor class, but you can add your dexterity modifier with it, so that's also good. Medium armor is sometimes limited to the dexterity modifier. This one adds 14 armor class plus your dexterity modifier. So if you add that on, you got yourself a pretty solid I guess +3 dexterity and +5 for dexterity. So you can see there we got our full armor class added on to that there. The best benefit of this is, though, is that image there, the Aura of Murder. Enemies within 2 meters become vulnerable to piercing damage unless they're resistant or immune to it. What does that mean? Piercing damage is doubled, which is just bonkers. If there was another way to add this to like slashing damage or bludgeoning damage, the best weapons in the game would change. However, there's only so many weapons that deal piercing damage, like Crimson Mischief, which is a nice weapon. The Blade of the First Blood, if you have it in your main hand, will actually add vulnerability to piercing damage too. But a lot of them are slashing. Like, a lot of the best weapons are slashing. It's mostly the daggers that are piercing damage. And some different spears are also piercing damage, and bow attacks are piercing. But to use bow attacks, you need to have someone up in the front lines to affect the Aura of Murder on people, and then you can use the bow attacks to hit those targets. Although there is a build you can go with, I have a build on my channel, the dual crossbow build, where I do crossbow expert, which doesn't give disadvantage on attacks within 3 meters. So you can use this and get the benefits. But I digress. I could talk about the Aura of Murder all day. It's S tier, the best armor effect in the game. It's just incredible the amount of damage you can output with this, and it's only available to the ballast armor. So yeah, you can also, little pro tip for you guys, if you want the ballast armor without having to kill Valeria, you can start the conversation and then switch to someone else and steal it from the ghost whenever you're about to get the ballast, or become an unholy assassin of Baal. So I'll be doing a guide on that at a future date. But next we got the Force Conduit. So this is exclusive to the, there's a few different things that'll give this. So the Rippling Force Mail is one of the armors that will give this. Is a heavy armor that you can get the last light in from Damon, so it's only available to good playthroughs. But Force Absorption, what does this do? So it gains, you get 2 turns of it per attack, and whenever you get hit, you gain, you get Force Conduit, which whenever you stack up 7 turns of it, whenever you get 7 turns of Force Conduit, no, 5 or more turns, my bad. It's max 7 turns, but you can get 5. Whenever you get 5, it deals 1d force damage in a 6-meter radius. It's nice. Being able to apply extra damage when you get attacked is great on like any really class is going to use heavy armor. I'd probably put it above ice resistance, but it's not good enough to go into the A or S tiers. Being able to deal 1d4 force damage is nice. Any extra damage is welcomed, but it's just not as effective as some of the others on this list, so I can't put it too high. And yeah, it is still nice to be able to add extra damage to attackers, especially the best damage type in the game, but it's not good enough to put itself higher. Next, we got ourselves the Eternal Devotion, which is exclusive to the Armor of Devotion. So this is a Paladin item. Basically, what this does is it gives you 1 Channel Oath charge, which you can use for your Channel Oaths, which is nice, but Channel Oaths aren't like something you're going to die for, you know. It's a good option to have, and it's a nice armor if you got a Paladin that wants to use their Channel Oath. I'll probably put it somewhere in the B tier as well. Maybe like, I feel like Force Conduit might end up being a bit more, you deal more damage with this, but you can heal more if you chose Oath of the Ancients, so it could be good depending on how you look at it. It might even be ice resistance. I feel like the benefit is higher than ice resistance. So yeah, Eternal Devotion, exclusive to the Armor of Devotion. But next we got Heat. Heat is really common, and this is the heat condition, but also the heat convergence. So basically, heat is bad. You do want heat, but you don't want it. Heat deals 1d4 of fire damage to you. So if you have something like the armor that prevents you from being burned, you won't take fire damage. So if you got Helldesk armor, go hard with that. There's a ton of items and armors that will give heat. So the Cinder Shoes will apply 2 stacks of heat whenever you burn an enemy. The Fire Heart, whenever you take fire damage, you get 2 turns of heat. Thermo Arcanic Gloves, whenever you deal fire damage, you get 2 turns of heat. Self-Immolation Ring, you got a bonus action to give yourself heat for 2 turns, so you hurt yourself for 2 turns. The Thermodynamo Axe, whenever you deal damage with the weapon, you get 2 turns of heat. Hellfire Great Axe, same deal. And then Marka Heshkir, if you use the Marka Heshkir, so we have this on right now, and you go with Kreska's Favor, so if we go here and we apply the Flame of Wrath, this will actually give us fire. So it'll give us heat. So if we go here, I got Gripped by Kreska's Flame. Whenever the entity deals damage with a fire spell, it gains 1 turn of heat. And that gives you the free casting of Fireball, so you can go ahead with like a Fireball and go boom! And then you get yourself a couple stacks of heat. But the thing with heat is you're going to take damage per turn, so you can see there, I saved it, still got hit by 1. And yeah, heat is fun, but save fail, got hit by 1. So yeah, it will kind of hurt you sometimes, but Gripped by Kreska's Flame, that's like probably the best version of this. But again, I mentioned all those different weapons that have it. Now, Heat Convergence, what does that do? So once you got heat built up, you can use the Heat Convergence, which I don't have on there because we lost our heat. So I guess we'll go Firewall. Pass that there. We got ourselves, I guess I lost my turns of heat. Got ourselves heat, and just, never mind, I won't show that off. But yeah, basically what Heat Convergence do, it allows you to turn all your turns of heat into additional fire damage. So you can get yourself multiple stacks of this up, and whenever you use it, you get 7 max turns, so you can deal an additional 7 damage. This is good on Fireball, because that can be 7 extra damage just added onto it. But it's not to die for. And also the fact that you take damage yourself, it's okay, but if you build around heat convergence, it can be good because you can deal a bunch of fire damage. Fireball, boom. I'd probably put it in A tier. It does hurt yourself, so if you play as a tiefling, you're going to get benefit of using this and not having get hurt. So it's not a bad one, but there's better options on this list. It may even go B tier, but we'll see. We'll reevaluate near the end. Now, the next one is the, so this, I just use the underarm logo, but this is the Greater Kashigo Counter, which is exclusive to, let me show you guys here. This is on the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation. So basically what this does, whenever you get attacked and if you get hit and they miss, you can use an unarmed attack and hit them back. So it's basically like Riposte, but for monks. This is the best in slot for a monk. It's a really great armor. It also gives you healing, so that's nice too. But being able to weaponize your reaction is huge, especially on a class that doesn't have the ability to weaponize the reaction. This is actually really great. So unarmed strikes on a monk can deal a ton of damage, but even on like a barbarian, it's not bad. I would have to say that this one probably goes somewhere in the S tier. Not as good as Aura of Murder, but the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation is a really good armor. But also the biggest benefit is obviously being able to use a reaction on an attacker that misses. Monks are also likely to dodge most attacks. So when they get attacked, they can go boom, punch you in the face. Pretty good. Next, we got Mental Fatigue. This is recommended to put on this list, although it doesn't apply. I mostly went with like chest armors and the benefits that chest armors bring, because those are the most beneficial. But Mental Fatigue is from gloves and rings. So basically what Mental Fatigue does is condition the entity gets a -1 to Wisdom, Intelligence, and Charisma saving throws for every turn remaining. You can get up to 7 stacks. What makes this really good is Hold Person is a Wisdom save, and you can give them -7 to their Wisdom saves. So that's really good. And whenever you get 5 or more turns of this condition, they take 1d6 of psychic damage, and they lose the Mental Fatigue. So you want to build this up, land a Hold Person, and then also damage them again with this to give the psychic damage, which can be doubled if you got the Resonance Stone, which I have right here. So that'll double the psychic damage that the target takes. Mental Fatigue's not bad. I'd probably say, just because the Wisdom saving throw is so important, I would probably put it in the A tier above Heat Convergence, because you can build this up, land your control spells, and then hit them with psychic damage. So that's really good. So we got Mental Fatigue for psychic damage. We got Heat for fire damage. Now we got the Jolty Vest for our electric lightning charges. So lightning charges are cool. Basically, whenever you have a lightning charge, you get a +1 attack rolls. It doesn't actually stack and give you more than one. +1 is only just, if you get 2 stacks, you only get a +1 to attack rolls. But if you gain 7 charges, they are consumed the next time you attack, and they deal an additional 1d8 of lightning damage. So you also lose 1 charge per turn. There's multiple items that will give you the ability to do this. So there's the Jolt Shooter, Sparky Point, Spell Sparkler, the Kareska's Favor here if we went with the lightning choice. So the lightning one will actually give you the that. So you can get lightning charges with that. Also equipment, if you got the Speedy Light Feet, you dash, you get 3 lightning charges. The Water Sparklers give you 3 charges if you start to turn on water, so that's actually really good. The Sparkle Hands, whenever you hit with an unarmed attack, give you 2 lightning charges. It's kind of nice if you're a monk, I guess. There's also the Blast Pendant, which will do an attack, and it's equal to lightning damage on a spell or cantrip, so you can kind of turn it into a Heat Convergence if you have the Blast Pendant. The Jolty Vest will have benefits. There's the Lifebringer Helmet, which will give 3 temporary health points if you have lightning charges. Not a lot, but it's good. The Protecty Sparks Wall will give you a +1 to armor class whenever you have lightning charges. The Real Sparky Wall Shield will give you, consume 3 of them and give you a lightning aura, which is nice. And then there's also the Glove of the Belligerent Skies, which inflicts 2 turns of reverberation. I should have put a reverberation on this, but it also shares this logo. And it also deals lightning damage. So pretty good. The Jolty Vest has the benefit whenever you get the lightning charges built up. If someone attacks you, it gives them the shocked condition, so they can't take reactions and have disadvantage on ability checks using dexterity and saving throws using dexterity. So shocked is nice because then you can land a fireball more frequently. But lightning charges in general are probably the best. Lightning charges being the best, and then Mental Fatigue, and then fire, because fire will hurt you, whereas this gives you +2 to your attack rolls. So I still think that fire defense is probably a little bit better, but now we're getting into a big heavy hitter with the Adamantine Splint. So I was thinking of using this for the reduce all damage by 2, which is a benefit of this, but there's many other armors that will have that. So this is the Reeling, and can't be critical hit. This is exclusive to this. There's 2 types of the Adamantine armor, and both of them are really great. Basically, Reeling, what that does is it gives the target a -1 penalty to attack rolls for every turn remaining. So if they hit you, you give them a -3 of attack rolls, which is huge. Also can't be critical hit. The Adamantine armor is the best choice. I don't like getting the Adamantine weapons because the armor is just extremely, extremely useful. You can also get this and the shield. So if they hit you, you give them 3 turns of Reeling, or if they miss you, the shield will give them 3 turns of Reeling. So that is really, really good. And I highly recommend grabbing this armor because it's best in slot until like Act 3. Now this is actually just the high spell casting. There's a lot of different robes that'll give this. Even like, I'll just go to show you guys, like there's multiple robes that give high spell casting. Even things like the Armor of Landfall You can see there it has a high spell casting, +1 to bonus to spell save DC. That's really good, actually, because spell save DC is such a useful thing to have. It means you're going to land your crowd control spells, also land some of your damage spells as well. I would have to say high spell casting is probably like top of A tier to S tier. Typically your mages want to have this because an increase to your spell save DC is massive. Now this isn't just exclusive to armor. You can actually get it on the Infernal Rapier, so there's also weapons that'll give you that benefit as well, which is really nice. So the Infernal Rapier, which is hiding in my inventory right there, you get a +1 bonus to spell save DC. That's really good. We want that as much as possible because spell save DC is pretty much everything for casters. So I would probably even say upwards of S tier for an ability. We'll put it in the top of the A tier just to be safe. Next, we got the Radiating Shockwave. So this is exclusive to the Luminous armor. So whenever the wearer deals radiant damage, they do a Radiant Shockwave, which inflicts radiating orbs in 3 meters and then gives them 2 turns, basically a -2 to their attack rolls. This is crazy. The Radiating Orb builds are just busted, and I have to put it up in the S tier. If you want to make Honor Mode a breeze, or not a breeze, but a little bit easier, get yourself a light cleric like Shadowheart and give her this armor and make her do Spirit Guardians and cast a bunch of radiant spells and use a Blood of Lathander. Like, you can get some crazy amount of minus rolls to attack with this on enemies. It's so good. Yeah, I got to build on Radiating Orbs. It's super useful, so highly recommend going with this. Radiating Shockwave is massive. Next, we got, this is the exotic material, which I talked about previously, which is on the Unwanted Masterwork Shield, or Unwanted Scale Mail. It's also on the Armor of Agility. So basically what this does, adding your full dexterity modifier to the armor class. And this is typically on things that give you a high armor class to begin with. So this is 17, this is 16. The ONT Scale Mail, which you get in Act 2 from Quartermaster Tally, also has this. I'm putting it up into the S tier because giving yourself the ability to add your full dexterity modifier on a high armor class armor. The ONT Scale Mail has a 15 armor class plus your dexterity modifier, so that could be potentially 21 armor class. This adds it as well with 16, and this adds as well with 17. This one also has +2 to saving throws, so it's really good. Enough said. Exotic material, if this was on some different armors, it would be like busted in terms of how strong it is, but it's on some of the best armors in the game for medium armor. So yeah. Next we got the Dark Justiciar. This is the half plate, but really any of the Dark Justiciar armors, they have the benefit of giving you whenever you're obscured, you can stealth a little bit easier. So when obscured, the wearer has advantage on stealth checks. So that's pretty good. This is the better version of it. So with this, you would want to be casting darkness. It goes really well with Shara's Spear of the Night. So if you have Shara's Spear of Night, you can cast a bunch of or Shara's Spear of Evening, my bad. You can cast a bunch of darkness with this, hide in it, and you have advantage on your stealth checks. So you're basically always stealth. And the benefit of having this is it makes you immune to being blind. There's also a helmet that you can go with that'll give you blindness immunity, which is really great. So the Steel Watcher helmet, those two pair together extremely well. So I would have to say giving advantage on stealth checks is pretty great. And also the benefit is this armor doesn't give disadvantage on stealth checks. So I would have to say probably like, I might move heat down to B tier and we'll put that in A tier. It's pretty good. Honestly, of all the benefits of these weapons or armors, I would say that getting yourself advantage on stealth is pretty good if you're going to go for a stealthy playthrough. Next, we have the Psionic Ward armor. So this gives resistance to psychic damage, and it'll heal you for 1d8 if you succeed. So the Psionic Ward is great. It's only available to Gith, just a little heads up. So I'm just going to put in the C tier for that because it's basically only good for Lae'zel unless you play as an Origin Gith. And Lae'zel is a fighter, so she's typically wanting to wear heavy armor, and this is only medium armor. So the Psionic Ward is nice, but I wish it was on more armors than just the Psionic Ward armor. It's literally just that alone. So yeah, it also gives disadvantage on stealth checks. So the armor is not amazing, not bad, but not something that's super game changing, as you're probably going to use heavier armor like this one, the Chainmail. So the Chainmail reduces slashing damage by 2. There's also the superior material, which basically gives -2 slashing damage, -2 piercing damage, or -2 bludgeoning damage. This is great. I think that reducing overall physical damage is nice. I might just put it somewhere around. It's good armor. Like this one is 18 armor class, so that's huge. but it doesn't give a huge benefit because slashing damage is only one type of damage. There's also fire, ice, acid, poison, radiant force, piercing, bludgeoning, psychic, psionic. Like there's a ton of different damage types. So it's good to reduce damage type for one type, but it's better going with like the adamantine, which that was that one, which reduces like all damage taken. But it's pretty decent. Next we got the potent robe, which has the gregarious caster, which adds your charisma modifier to the armor. Add your charisma modifier to the damage of your cantrips. So that's good on a few cantrips, but most notably, it's good on Eldritch Blast because you can do 3 beams, and you can get your charisma up to 24, which will give a +7. And then with a +7, that's 21 extra damage on your Eldritch Blast. Massive. It also gives a charisma modifier equal to your... gives temporary health equal to your charisma modifier, which is really great too. So, yeah, Potent Robe is solid. For what it is, I would say it's probably like S tier because it's just super useful item. The Gregarious Caster, if this was on different armor, it would be a game changer. It just gives you your armor class plus dexterity modifier plus 1 armor class. So it's like 11 armor class and then your dexterity modifier. So this is really great on a sorcerer because you can use mage armor with this as well. And this is rewarded by Alfira the Bard. So, yeah, you do have to be a good character to get this, but it's one of the best in slot for a warlock. And it also looks pretty cool, too. Like, that's what it looks like. It works really well with a bunch of different dyes. So, yeah, that's a good solid one. Next, we got ourselves the Wave Mother's Robe, which was the armor I was wearing at the start here. And basically what this does is it gives you resistance to fire and cold damage. So that's obviously better than just resistance to cold or fire damage. The Wave Mother's Robe also gives +1 armor class, and it gives you create or destroy water. The temperature adjustment is huge, so getting that additional resistances, I'd put it, obviously it's better than just fire resistance. I don't know if it's better than increased spell save DC, but I'm going to put it up there because fire and cold damage, that's covering all your bases. It's a great armor, and it also gives you a level 4 create water spell, so any extra spells are nice too. It also looks like that, so enough said. It's a good armor. Obviously, getting resistance to 2 damage types is better than 1, so got to put it up in the A tier. Finally, we got ourselves the Helldusk armor. So, sorry, Shadowheart, I don't want something. Oh, that's nice of you, Shadowheart. But yeah, with the Helldusk armor, so this is crazy. It gives you proficiency. The Helldusk armor, that alone is probably the best in the game. For heavy armor, you can put this on Gale at the start of the game. If you could get it, you can get this at the start of the game by kind of glitching. But it also has if you succeed a saving throw, caster gets burning for 3 turns. That's nice. Resistance to fire damage, again, A tier ability because fire damage is so common, but you also can't be burned. And then also, you take 3 less damage from all sources, which is better than the adamantine armor. So, Helldusk armor obviously has some of the best benefits in the game. I don't think it's as good as like the Aura of Murder. So, yeah, the best benefits being applying a vulnerability to piercing damage. That's huge. Free armor proficiency as well as reducing all damage, not being able to be burned, and being able to fly. S tier. Being able to use a reaction, also S tier. Reducing all damage, can't be critical hit, S tier. Luminous armor, you can probably go. It's really great for Radiant Orb builds. I'm gonna put bottom of the S tier. Maybe we could move these down around something like this. Maybe like that, just to balance it out. Yeah, we'll finalize it somewhere around here. So, obviously the best being able to give double damage to a weapon type. Being able to be proficient in a weapon and get all the benefits of this armor. It's too many to talk about. The Kashigo counter, giving a reaction, the ability to deal damage is massive. You always want to weaponize your reactions whenever possible. Can't be critical hit, that's massive, and also reducing all damage and applying reeling, S tier. And then adding your full dexterity modifier, S tier. So yeah, those are the best armor effects in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Hit the subscribe button as well. Thanks.